I'm sure you'd probably ask the same question. Where's the truth? You've got to get to the bottom of the truth. And the only way Congress can do that is go to impeachment inquiry that gives Republicans and Democrats the ability to get all the information.
Since we can't get an answer from the president, what does his press secretary have to say?
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. I'm not going to get into what the House Republicans may or may not do. What I can speak to is what the president is focused on. He's focused on real priorities that the American families care about. He's focused on the American family, but they want to focus on his family. They can do whatever it is that they wish to do, but we're going to stay focused.
How long did it take them to come up with that line? Let's bring in Michigan Republican Congressman Bill Huizenga. Congressman, terrific to see you. Andy McCarthy framed it this way earlier today to me. If the standard for high crimes and misdemeanors is what the Democrats use in opening an impeachment inquiry over President Trump and that Ukraine phone call, that what this involves right now, then the misconduct we already know about easily surpasses that standard.
Well, look, they certainly set a very, very low bar, and some people had speculated that impeachment became the new censure back in the last administration. But when you see Jamie Raskin and other people like that out there just a few short years ago using a fake dossier as the basis for one impeachment and a phone call into Ukraine and other places for another one, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me as a direction to go for them at the time. But now, I think, as Kevin McCarthy said, as Speaker McCarthy had said, we have to let these investigations move forward. Maybe, frankly, unlike what my colleagues did last Congress and with the last president, we have to make sure that those investigations are done. They're done thoroughly and fairly, and let the evidence lead us to that. And if that is the case, then so be it.
So, Congressman, you're in the conference where all Republicans get together and have a conversation about the priorities of a Republican-led Congress. Where are your fellow members? Are they all on board for this investigation and potentially impeachment of the president?
Well, Sean, the investigation is one thing, and impeachment action is something completely different, as you well know. Those are large thresholds, but those investigations have to be done. And frankly, they're being done, I think, against Mayorkas or with Mayorkas at Department of Homeland Security. It should be with the Bidens as well. It should be kind of in every corner that we see the problems, but those investigations, they need to lead either towards something or away from something. And so far, they've been leading towards something that I don't think is a direction anybody relishes or wants to go, because this stuff is hard. I mean, we lived through this the last administration. It divides the country, it divides families, it divides a lot of social fabric things. But it may be necessary, and if some of these accusations are true, I mean, outright bribery and within the family and with his son, those are very, very serious.
Congressman, and I wanted to be clear, the actual article of impeachment against President Trump didn't include a prosecutable crime, and it cited abuse of power. On that note, if you launch an impeachment inquiry, it will give you the power to actually investigate, and the failure to comply with information demands is an actual obstruction of the impeachment investigation, which is an impeachable offense. So opening this inquiry will actually let the Republicans do the investigation and will prevent the Biden Justice Department and the Biden administration from stonewalling you.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to find out. Look, I have great faith in both Jim Jordan and James Comer. Of what their abilities are. It's a virtual printing machine over there some days, according to my friends that serve on the committee with them, as far as the letters going out, and we're seeing potentially contempt of Congress steps. So you're right, Dagan, with that analysis of what happened with the other impeachments of President Trump, and that's one of the reasons why I voted no. That obstruction of justice was weak sauce back then. It would be weak sauce now, and we can't let that happen again. So we've, again, Republicans are holding ourselves to a higher standard, but to me, it's a constitutional standard that we need to pursue. And if it gets there, I'm okay with that. But I want to make sure that that Jim Jordan has the ability to go as far as he possibly can before we have to go to something like that. But as Speaker McCarthy said, that may have to happen.
So, Congressman, let's talk about something you've been working on over the last month, which is ESG. You've led the House Republican effort on focusing on environmental, social, and governance, which is what ESG stands for. What have you learned over the month, and what's the plan moving forward on how you roll back some of these ESG policies so you have money managers actually investing to make a return on your investment, not a political objective or motivation?
Yeah, well, this is something we have learned, Sean, is that way too often financial investments have turned into social and political experiments and sometimes agendas. And that's a huge problem, especially when it should be a fiduciary responsibility of maximizing return for the investor. And this is part of the problem with the Securities and Exchange Commission under Gary Gensler. Is we are seeing bureaucrats who are not elected, have not had any of this language go through a legislative process, no approval from the House or the Senate, just deciding that they were the ones that are going to decide what Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 information, which is all this data that is out there from both privately held companies and publicly held companies, what they're going to have to send in. And this is not their job. It's not their legal lane. So we know that they are a problem, the regulators themselves. We know that the proxy advisors, these are the people that are, and this is stuff that you had worked on when you were here in Congress as well. This is the advice that these analysts are giving about whether someone should or shouldn't vote for a policy, a shareholder proposal that is brought in, and this is fascinating. We've actually seen these proxy advisors recommend voting for items that would violate either state or federal law. Now, under oath and in our committee just a week or two ago, they were saying that, well, they follow the Securities and Exchange's recommendations, and if the Securities and Exchange Commission says it's okay to vote on this, they assume that the SEC has checked its legality, while the SEC under oath has said, well, that's not our job. We don't do that. Well, somebody's got to. I mean, because literally there was a case with Travelers Insurance where there was a shareholder proposal that was close to passing that would have violated federal law on whether you could count race towards or rates on insurance. Well, there was a reason why that was outlawed, is because people of color were having rates that were higher than those who were Caucasian. And so it's just this upside down bizarro world that we found ourselves in, all in pursuit of frankly, social and political agendas, not in what's best for the investor or best for our economy.
Well, Congressman, stay on the case, and your colleagues as well. We appreciate you joining us on The Bottom Line. Michigan's favorite son, Bill Huizenga, thanks for being here.
Hey, good to be with you both. All right, see you soon.